In Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, you play as a dwarf working for a mining corporation, and recently the executives realized they can save a lot of money by sending one dwarf with 4 guns instead of 4 dwarves with 1 gun each. So, guns are cheap, and if you die during the mission, that means they don't even need to keep paying you. Instead, all the money can go to the shareholders. Think of the shareholder value. Your job is simple. Survive until the elite spawns, kill it, then run back to a drop pod because yes, it will leave without you, and the game makes this very clear consistently. After all, running late is an unnecessary expense that simply isn't in this quarter's budget. Once you reach the deepest levels, it's time to kill the alien beastie known as the Dreadnought, and sometimes there's more than one, but hey, shit happens, and it's not their problem after all, it's yours. Along the way, you kill bugs, collect EXP, upgrade your guns, apply legally dubious overclocks to make them even better, and of course, trade all of your hard-earned gold, nitra, and other resources back to the company so that you can get some upgrades in hopes of surviving your run. With all that said, let's start diving right into it, just like how during the game you dive into Hoxus 4. So, there are 4 playable characters. The Scout, who tends to specialize in light and medium weapons, the Gunner, who specializes in heavy, Engineer, who specializes in constructs, and Driller, who specializes in mining. Also, pretty good at throwing stuff. For the sake of demonstration, let's go with the classic Scout.
It's Dreadnought time, Miner. Find the damn thing, destroy it.
So, after loading in, the first thing I always do is get to mining. Why? Gold and nitra are valuable resources. The sooner I can get them, the better. And very early on, there aren't many bugs to shoot, so mining is one of the best ways to get EXP. I'm also grabbing some quick upgrades and getting these loot bugs. You can pop them to get some minerals. Now, as I'm doing this, I'm keeping an eye out for the zone objective, which in this case is Morkite. Morkite is more difficult to mine, so again, it's better to do this early on before there are too many bugs. But hey, shooting a few bugs and getting some EXP that way is pretty good as well, especially after everything in the nearby area is mined out. Now, these big resources are meta resources, the stuff used to buy upgrades. More on them later. At level 5, you can choose a second weapon. I don't particularly like any of these options, so I'm going to spend 15 gold and reroll, and oh yes, let's get the Warthog. It's one of my favorite guns. And I also took 60 damage to the face because I was too busy talking to dodge the alien. That's unfortunate. So here's the supply pod. This time it was really easy to clean out. And I'm just going to wait for a second because I would much rather drop it directly on some bugs and squish them, because yes, it does do damage. And yes, you can use that on bosses and stuff too. Open up a supply pod to get an artifact, in this case, gold tip bullets. So now I need to be careful about spending gold, because gold equals damage. And having gold equals damage, that's going to be super awesome for all of my guns. And oh look, a paint job. Paint job increases weapon level but doesn't add any stats. Why is this good? Because at level 6, 12, and 18 you get overclocks, and overclocks are crazy. Like high caliber rounds that pierces through a bunch of foes. Or balanced overclock, which is crit chance, crit damage, and the gun now targets the highest health enemy. Both of these are good, but in this case, I think I'm going to go high caliber. That's the bonus objective complete. If you've played Bullet Heaven games before, some of them are just about killing enemies, collecting EXP. Some of them are more objective focused. This is very much more objective focused. And now I'm going to try all perfect. All those exploder bugs went off and took a huge amount off the elite's health bar. Now it's just about doing damage to the elites. When both of the elites are dead, the stage is over. Alright, and that should do it.
Drop pod has arrived. Get there before the timer runs out. The drop pod is not going to hang around.
Now in general, it is better to do things faster rather than slower, because the faster the bugs die, the better the bonus chest. Also, the slower the bugs die, the stronger the bugs get. So, it is very much a matter of making sure you have enough damage and setting yourself up for success. Which is why you can also use the supply pod to boost your DPS a bit. But before I leave, I am definitely going to head over here and just grab all of this nice EXP from all of these dead aliens. Because yeah, don't want it to go to waste. Not like I'm going to be coming back here. And unlike some games, this is not collected and put into a pool at the end of a run. Oh look, I didn't need to do any of that because there's a magnet, which, because I'm recording a video, I don't actually know if it was on my map and I just missed it, or if it just spawned. Either way, that collects everything for me. Cool. Also got my second overclock on my first gun. Feeling pretty good, and moving on to stage 2. Before I do though, quick pit stop at the shop. Since I have the gold tip bullets, I'm not going to be spending too much of my gold, but I will spend my nitro to get some high velocity bullets on my shotgun. And maybe increase the fire rate too. Alright, on to the next stage. Time to rinse and repeat until I get down to one of the later floors, or until something interesting happens. So let's talk a bit about upgrades, because there are different types. For example, here there's Tweak Potency. This increases the status effect for things like shock and burn. Status damage increases the damage those effects do, and body shots generically increases the damage of all weapons. Meanwhile, reload speed would decrease the reload time of all weapons. Fire rate, on the other hand, only affects the LMG platform, but it would raise its level, giving access to more overclocks. In general, the higher the bonus on something, the more focused it's going to be, which is why the 10% reload speed is a lower rarity when it only applies to one gun than the 6% that applies to all guns. In general, I tend to prioritize high rarity upgrades over low rarity upgrades, but it does depend. If something's more useful, I'm going to take that even if it's a lower rarity. Here, for example, the bigger cogs is damage to all projectile weapons, which is everything. But the other bigger cogs, I know they're named the same thing, but they do different stuff. That one only applies to kinetic damage, which does not apply to the Nishanka Bolt Shark because that is an elemental weapon. So instead I'm going to increase its potency and level. So stage 5 works a little bit differently. This time, it's not about waiting till the end and killing the elite. No, now you need to kill the Dreadnought, which involves killing these cocoons to spawn elites, and then dealing with the Dreadnought. Technically, you don't have to actually kill the elites who spawn, but I do recommend it, as otherwise it might be a little bit difficult to kill everything else, and oh yeah, they hurt. Don't stand on the cocoons while recording a YouTube video. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. Time to go get some red sugar, the good old healing resource, and one of the few ways to recover health in the game outside of simply leveling up. Since I've killed 3 of the cocoons, I only need to kill 1 more, then I will be able to attack the big cocoon, and oh god, that is a dead end. I do not want to be down that. That could get me killed. But yeah, I'll be able to attack the big cocoon and start the fight for real. Something else that I'm going to try to do while tracking these down is get just a little more gold, since I do still have the gold tip bullets, and maybe even a couple levels, because if I can get more level 18 overclocks, those are a ton of damage. Alright, here's the big old cocoon. I'm just going to shoot it a bit, inflict some damage over time, and then step away, because I don't want to get squished by bugs. Big old boss spawns. Sometimes it's a single Dreadnought, sometimes it's the Dreadnought twins. And in this case, they are some angry boys. The purple one charges. The red one spits fire. The Dreadnought itself has a couple of extra mechanics that trigger as its health gets lower, but the twins only have one mechanic. They just do one thing the entire time, so if you can dodge them, you're good. Just keep in mind it does get harder because the longer this takes, the stronger and faster the bugs get. Okay, Dreadnought down. Gear collected, in this case a legendary item. It's time to peace out, because these bugs, they're very angry and they're not going to get any nicer. So, hop into a pod and congratulations, mission success. Now the other game mode is Escort Duty, and to demonstrate this, I'm going to do Gate 1. Basically, the gates are challenges that allow you to face higher hazards. So in this case, increased mining and reload speed, but massive glyphid activity and Omega Mini Elites, so the little guys are stronger. So this works very differently. I now have the Drill Dozer, and I need to find some fuel for it because yes, that thing does run on oil. And oh look, a veritable oil field. So once you provide it with fuel, the Drill Dozer does what it does best, drilling, and killing anything that it comes in contact with. It is very good at killing bugs. It will also mine its way through rock, and harvest any resources along the way, which is going to make it much easier to gather this oil because it kind of just happens automatically. Since fuel is limited, it will run out. Also, unlike before, where I was constantly going out of my way to mine, here I'm taking a little bit more of a balanced approach because it plays out over 3 stages. So I don't want to necessarily spend too much time just mining, though it's still good to get resources when you can. So, the drill dozer has been escorted to the end, but the level is not over because there's one more thing that needs to be done. Prime 4 explosives, because of course there needs to be an explosive finish. And with that, the drill dozer goes to the next level, and of course the drop pod is coming to take me along as well. From here, it's basically a rinse and repeat until the final level, which of course ends in a boss fight. Sort of. It's more of a boss drill. So first up, upgrades. Mostly because these are the straightforward version of Metaprogression. You mine all these resources during your dive, and then you spend them on upgrade. The part that takes a little bit more work is down here, the mineral market, where if you have a bunch of a resource that you don't want or need, you can sell it, generating credits. On the other hand, if you have way too many credits, and you're pretty close to an upgrade but you can't quite afford it, well, spend some of those credits, and then buy your upgrade. In short, don't stress too much about going out of your way for these, but when you can mine them, definitely do so, just don't end your dive for it. Something else that's worth mentioning is the inner rows here really are icing on the cake kind of stuff. They are super expensive and super grindy to actually max out. And that's the thing, going from 18 to 19 armor doesn't matter that much, but going from 0 to 10 by doing a lot of base upgrades, far more impactful. Because another good example of this is masteries, where these are static bonuses. You do a challenge level with 1 gun, complete 3 stages, and congratulations, you have a bonus. So on the LMG gun platform, it's 7% damage, 7% reload speed. Whereas on the Bulldog, it's 12% damage, but also I haven't done it. Yeah, that's the other thing. You don't have to do every single mastery. There are masteries for every gun, there are masteries for every character, and there are masteries for every stage. In terms of how impactful they are, I'd say do your favorite guns, do your favorite character, and the stage ones are pretty good, so maybe do all of those. But you don't strictly have to, and it's not like it's going to stop you from progressing if you miss a couple. But the meta progression system that I find most interesting is gear. Now you'll start getting low rarity items. Later on, it's all going to be epics and legendaries, with the main difference being that legendaries have special effects which will not roll on epic items. Epic items are just really good and have a lot of stats. So I could use this epic chest piece. Gives a good amount of health, a high amount of armor, and plus 150% armor for a pretty significant duration when leaving the drop pod. Really good for the early part of a stage. Or I could use the Miner's Flash Belt, which also counts as armor. This gives movement speed when upgrading armor. So if I take a whole bunch of armor upgrades, I'm also effectively taking movement speed upgrades. Sure, higher tier, higher rarity movement speed upgrades will be better. This is like just getting movement speed for free, and movement speed is really good, so this is a very good item. Now, the chip equipment type modifies Bosco. Yeah, he's not just a basic helper, he can do more stuff. For example, he can allow you to equip kinetic and electrical weapons. Or he can turn his own weapon into a plasma projectile that'll bounce around really well in close spaces. With this chip, Bosco can mine. I don't actually like this chip very much because Bosco, not the best miner. Not the most reliable miner, let me put it that way. Also, Bosco can pick up the XP. That's a pretty good one. So you can use chips to modify all sorts of things. And again, the legendary ones are often a bit more powerful. They have better stats and they have some unique effects. Next up we have gadgets. Gadgets tend to give mining speed bonuses, though sometimes they have things like reload speed instead, but lots of mining speed bonuses. This legendary one gives +2 artifact rerolls, a little pricey on the nitro, but good if you're target farming a specific artifact, and mining speed for every meta resource mined. Who said it wasn't rewarding to progress your character? And we've got Canister, which, you know, the old DW40K, use it all the time. A lot of these have things like movement speed, explosion radius, and weapon range. So you'll use these to boost your offense or just take movement speed, because movement speed is really good. Next up, there are tools. These tend to interact with your weapon, i.e. increase the bonus, though you can also get luck, which means higher rarity upgrades. And last up, the weapon mod, which, yeah, this one interacts with your weapon as well. I don't know what you're expecting from a weapon mod. There are some very cool things like being able to equip all projectile weapons and plus 30% piercing, which is very good when firing into swarms of bugs. Or on the other hand, max HP that builds up over time every time an elite spawns. Pretty good on higher difficulties when you get a whole bunch of elites. You do have to be a little careful when equipping something like this, because if you don't want to add projectile weapons to a character's pool, it is a very bad idea to equip a sniper scope, so use with caution, but it can be very good. If there's stuff you don't need or want, sell it. And by sell, I mean break it down into resources. And if there's stuff you really like, you can upgrade it. Upgrading does boost the stats, but let's just take a look at this item as an example. It comes with 8.2% EXP gain, and the upgrade, which costs a significant number of resources, only adds 0.4%. And if I upgrade it again, it's another 0.4, and oh look, the cost has become absurd. This is more or less just an endgame grind for people who have maxed out everything else. Upgrades are nice and all, they do technically increase the stats, but it's absolutely not something you should worry about if you're new to the game. And honestly, it's probably not something you should worry very much about, even if you're playing a ton. You'll just get resources over time and use them for upgrades when you have nothing better to spend them on. And so that's a quick look at all of the meta progression systems. Next up, let's talk some builds. So what's build? Well, the short version is any 4 guns you happen to pick up on your run. The long version is you can sometimes find builds that are a bit more effective, or maybe we could use the word synergistic. This is by taking a bunch of guns that share a tag. Remember what I said before? The more specific an upgrade, the more powerful, so if you're scaling all the same tag or damage type, it's going to give you more of a bonus than if you're simply scaling all of your damage. And so now I'm going to talk about some builds that I put together on recent runs and how they work together. So for the first one, I was playing the Strong Arm Driller. He has increased weapon range and starts with the Impact Axe, perfect for throwable weapons. So I put an Impact Axe, Neurotoxin Grenade, High Explosive Grenade, and a Lead Burster together. I then took all of the AoE radius effects, since that scaled everything but the Lead Burster, and I tried to make all of my grenades split into multiple more grenades, because the more the grenades the better, or at least the better for me, and the worse for the bugs, which is still better for me. I added a little bit of terrain damage to blow up chunks of earth, and things were going well. The second one is the all-plasma build, which was quite awkward because this was not actually a successful run. I died at the last minute, and in part that's because I took a couple weapons that were maybe questionable choices. See, I started with the LMG platform, and I took the plasma overclock. That's awesome, does a ton of damage. I added the plasma burster grenade, that was my first mistake. The A210 Warthog, plasma version, also very good, but a little more reliant on the 18th level overclock. And then a breach cutter, which added some more AoE, but I didn't really need more AoE at that point. I kind of needed a way to focus fire down some of the more dangerous bugs, and this is where my problems compounded. So in this case, while the build did get me pretty darn far, the reason it fell apart is the plasma burster, kinda meh, and the breach cutter didn't really do what I want because it kind of shoots in random directions. I probably should have gone with something that wasn't following the plasma theme, like the M1000 or even Shanka Bolt Shark, which could instead more effectively target enemies, or the Krakatoa Tower Seismic Repulsor, something that was able to deal mass AoE damage, but more importantly, keep the bugs off me. And build number 3, which did end up in a successful dive, was less of a build and more of a vibe. See, I started on the Juggernaut, who has really good base stats. He starts with higher armor, more max health, and whenever he takes damage, he gains damage. The only downside is his starting weapon is the Bulldog Heavy Revolver, which is kinda terrible. So, to fix this, I picked up the Armscore Coil Gun. This is great. It has a persistent projectile that just bores through bugs. The Hurricane Rocket Launcher, which can be used to snipe enemies within crowds. Also, you can make rockets leave puddles. That's pretty fun. And last but not least, the Seismic Repulsor, which is what kept the bugs off me and allowed all the other guns to go to work. And by all the other guns, I basically mean the Armscore Coil Gun, because that thing 100% carried me. Yeah, as it turns out, if your gun's OP enough and does enough damage, it can carry the run. But those are just a few examples of the guns and builds that you're going to be able to put together in Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. And so that said, what's the verdict? Well, if you're looking for a game that feels like your job, I certainly hope Deep Rock Galactic Survivor is nothing like your actual job. Sure, your boss might be asking ChatGPT if he can legally fire you, but at least you don't have to literally fight alien bugs to hopefully get a beer from the commissary. On the other hand, if you're looking for a bullet-heavy game that hits a bit different because you can continually interact with a terrain and have a bunch of cool guns, it's time to rock and stone. Just be warned, the game does lean towards the grindier side of things, so you might find your progression to be slow, especially as you push into the higher hazards, and you might want to take some time to grind out masteries for your favorite guns. After all, you can't take the extra damage bonus for granted. And yes, I did spend the entire video thinking of how to fit a granite pun in, and I did it just at the end. And with that, yes, I know everyone's probably downvoting the video and writing angry comments about how dare you put a pun in the script, but in my defense, ooh, look a shiny. You can go watch my beginner's guide and get started playing Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, or you can watch the tier list that should come out very soon and see all of my favorite guns. Those will be up in the card and down below. The tier list might not be out quite when this video airs, but shortly after it'll be coming out. I just need to go through and finish editing it, so that might be up your alley. Also, if you want to see more content, do be sure to get subscribed. If you enjoyed, leave a like. Yes, I know the pun probably ruined any hopes of that. And hop into Discord to join the community and see all my future uploads. For now, I'm going to get going, so thank you very much for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one.